Alright guys, I am tired of seeing all these nonsense Zane build videos where they claim to one-shot bosses or nuke bosses, and then it's just a movement speed build and it does no damage at all, or it takes them like 5 minutes to kill anything. This is on Mayhem 3. I'm going to show you an actual no clickbait boss killing build, and I'm going to show you a technique that's going to increase your damage on Zane and your just general playstyle of Zane tenfold. I mean, I don't think anybody else is doing this technique. I don't know if anybody else has found this technique yet, but I'm going to show you guys, and it's gonna might change how you build Zane in the future. So let me just get into it. All right. So the build I'm going to be running is essentially all Hitman. We're going to be dipping into Undercover, and we're going to be dipping into Doubled Agent. And I'll explain to you why. So essentially, this build is going to revolve around his kill skills. His kill skills are where all of his damage comes from, and the issue with Zane as a boss killer in general is that these kill skills require some conditions to activate, and the damage that they put out isn't really as high as some of the other passive damage increases of some of the other Vault Hunters, except with what we're going to do here. Okay, and let me just walk you through real briefly, but you guys can probably figure it out. I dip into a lot of things that are going to essentially increase your weapon damage or your ability to kill things. So we pick up almost all of the kill skills, increase movement speed, and this gun damage up 20% at default walk speed. This isn't a movement speed based build, but just it's free damage, so you take it because everything else is kind of trash. Cool hand. This is just going to increase your reload speed in the event that you need it, which you shouldn't. You want to increase the effect and duration of all of your kill skills, because again, that's what this build is being based off of. Violent violence after you get a kill, which you're not going to be doing, but you're still going to be activating this. You have a faster fire rate. This thing, though, playing dirty, if you can get mods that increase this, that's amazing. So essentially, this makes it so the next 5 shots all have a chance to trigger an additional projectile. So this means you're going to be wanting to favor things that do a lot of damage in short burst windows. So I use the Lyuda, and also Torg launchers are really good in particular. My Torg launcher isn't that great though, so I'm not going to be showing in this video, but the Lyuda will, most everybody has a Lyuda. And if you don't, I'm not going to be using any kind of like crazy one. I'm just going to use a base fire one to demonstrate this. Anyway, this increases your action skill duration, and this skill is what kind of makes this build possible. Activating action skill automatically activates all of your kill skills. Now, in other builds, you might be running 2 action skills to try and take advantage of this, because they go on cooldown. The cooldown's quite long unless you build your entire build around short cooldowns. But even then, you're going to be having to wait the entire duration of an action skill plus the cooldown. So, I mean, depending on which skills you picked up, your action skill might last a while, meaning that you kind of have an artificially long cooldown. But we're going to avoid all of that. The next tree, we do a similar thing. We basically go and grab the gun talents. So we get the maximum shield capacity. It doesn't really matter that much. Whenever Zane is damaged, you get damage increase. Doesn't really matter that much, but unfortunately a lot of the stuff in here doesn't really provide you with good damage, except for this one where your shields are active. It gives you another 20% increase to gun damage, so we're going to take that. And then in the doubled agent tree, we're going to pick up this first skill that increases your gun damage 20% per active action skill. Now, this is useful in like your initial burst window, but in your subsequent burst windows, not so much. And so the way the build variation here comes down to whether or not you want to use a grenade or you want to use 2 action skills, and that I'll leave that up to you. I'll explain in a bit. And then this last kill skill, which basically increases your gun damage by 90%. You really don't give a crap about the clone's damage at all. It doesn't matter. Secondly, we're going to be going and we're going to be using a Fire Lyuda. I do have like a God tier one that increases your weapon damage by a crap load when you use an action skill, which is really abusable by this build and the technique I'm going to show you. But I'm assuming that most of you might not have one like this, so I'm just going to use a base level one and hope that you guys can probably manage to get your hands on one of those. Your shield really doesn't matter that much. This is why my build isn't even super optimal, but I'm still going to nuke bosses faster than those other builds you're going to see. So if you can get a shield that actually amplifies your damage a significant amount, go for it. I know Brawler Shield has like an exploit right now where you can stack your damage indefinitely and get some kind of cheesy one-shots, but this is not what this build's about. You're going to want to have this class mod though. This basically gives you another kill skill. And again, we're going to be going and using your kill skills in order to do damage to the boss. And so this one is a much more damage focused kill skill. So you're going to want this. Elemental Projector. It doesn't have to be an Elemental Projector Deathless. I just love this particular one. But Elemental Projector is going to give you a ton of damage and you really, really need it. Essentially, while suffering an elemental effect, increase your damage with that same element. So, when you are on fire, you're going to do 183% more fire damage. And that's the crux of where a lot of your damage is going to be coming from, in addition to your kill skills. Now, before when I said, are you going to want to use 2 action skills or a grenade, I meant in regards to how you're going to activate this fire on yourself. So, for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm just going to use a grenade, light myself on fire, and activate the damage that way, because my weapon, the Alchemist, is not really that great at lighting me on fire. If you had a weapon, say the Companion, which has a 100% chance to light you on fire, use that one and use an additional action skill, and you're going to even have more DPS than what I'm showing you here. But for my purposes, I'm going to be using a Spring Epicenter. It's just the only fire grenade that I happen to have handy, and it's level 50, which is not ideal. Ideally, if you're going to use a grenade, maybe use one that's lower level so that you don't do too much damage to yourself, but honestly, it shouldn't really matter that much. So that's essentially what we're going to be working with. You're going to want to be lighting yourself on fire. You're going to want to use all of your kill skills at the same time. And you're probably wondering, how are you going to activate all the kill skills on these bosses? And so normally, if you activate a kill skill, you can see on the bottom, I have all those buffs, and that's really exciting, whatever. But the clone stays around for a while, and I have to wait for the clone to go away, and I have to wait for the cooldown to come back. And granted, my action skill cooldown's kind of high, so it comes back relatively quickly, but still, that's a lot of downtime when you're talking about fighting a boss. However, let me just show you this. So the technique is you're going to want to go and activate your skill. And by the way, Zane is the only one that can do this. I tested on every single other Vault Hunter, and Zane is the only one who can do this. I think it's how his abilities are activated. And it works on all 3 of his abilities. The most ideal one from a damage perspective is probably the Barrier, but it's also the hardest one to activate. For our purposes, though, I'm going to just show you with the Digiclone because I would rather just show you guys on something that maybe is easier for you guys to pick up. So all you're going to be doing is activating your action skill, your Digiclone, and then as soon as you activate your Digiclone, you're going to want to go to your menu. So activate Digiclone, go to menu, and you can see on the bottom, you saw all the buffs pop up, and now I have all the buffs, but Digiclone is not on cooldown. Now, when you're doing this full boss nuke, because you're using this build, you're going to be able to just nuke the bosses regardless. However, where Zane usually gets screwed is in the follow-up, and where a lot of other characters get screwed as well, because your kill skills, in order to activate them, you have to use your action ability. And so if I activate my clone normally, it's going to take me a while to get it back. So by using this technique, you can go and you can essentially just keep refreshing your kill skills. You can do that the double shot, which is that debuff on the buff on the bottom that says X5. You can do that and then trigger it again and trigger it again, trigger it again, trigger it again without ever having to put your thing on cooldown. Now, the reason why having 2 action skills is somewhat more optimal is because you could go and you could have your Digiclone sitting out and granting you 20% increased damage, but then you can also be, you could have your shield out and granting you that 25% damage amplification plus the 20% from the talent tree, and you could be constantly reactivating these buffs using the digiclone as kind of like a fodder choice. But all of these combined make it so that Zane does a ton of damage up front on bosses. You can nuke bosses with this, and then if for whatever reason you get like a bad modifier or something, you can double up and re-engage and do the same amount of damage all over again. And so I'll probably show you a suboptimal, like maybe a suboptimal opener, and then and use this technique just to show you how you can bounce back. So let's just go and do it. I did just want to show you guys the modifiers. Nothing that's going to have any influence on my damage. I'm going to be doing all incendiary damage, but I just wanted to show you guys for the purpose of this. So I'm going to show you with the digiclone. Again, it's not super optimal, but I'm just going to show you, and hopefully you can kind of understand what the goal is here. So I'm going to go cancel my activation, light myself on fire here, and then I'm going to light up the boss. Now, if I went and did it optimally, you could just kill him straight up, but I'm going to reactivate, and now he's dead. And now, if you were running, the shield, like I was saying, you could do even more potentially. Or if you had the digiclone sit out, you could have 20% additional damage. I mean, like, the damage potential is actually quite high, and as you can see, this isn't some kind of nonsense where, like, I'm going to spend 10 minutes killing the boss. It's straight up, it's equivalent to what some other builds are currently doing, and it's very, very fun to do on Zane. Okay, so we're going to do it a little bit more optimally this time. I'll use the Anointed Lyuda, and I'll also use the shield, and just show you guys what it kind of looks like. So we got to do it really quick to activate the shield. Might have done it too quick that time. There we go. Let's drop this. Now I'm on fire, and I'm just going to rain hell on this guy. A little bit messy because of my own mess-ups, but you guys kind of can see the difference. You don't have to go and take multiple attempts. I mean, you don't really have to take multiple attempts usually, but I just kind of wanted to show you guys and demonstrate what it looks like when you have a little bit more of an optimal build. And, this helps a lot more on fights where you don't necessarily have a giant burst phase, right? Like on like the Troy fight or the Tyrene fight where there's downtime, and normally Zane would kind of just be lollygagging around and not being able to actually do anything. This allows you to reset your damage buffs and re-engage, which is, it's very, very useful. If you can stack some more sniper damage, or you can get a nice launcher, then you can really make this a lot better than even what I have. And I'm really interested to see what your thoughts are on this. I think this little tech is really cool. I hope they don't patch it that soon, although it does seem a little bit busted. And I really want to know what you guys would like to see tested next. I have only just messed around with this for a few days, but I really just wanted to get this out to you guys. And that's kind of why my Moe's build was so slow to come out, is because I was power leveling my Zane because I wanted to try this at level 50 and make sure it still worked optimally. But and just for your own edification, there's no bonuses in this that's going to be making me do any more damage, although I'll show you a couple clips at the end of this that of like the crazy damage output if you actually do get some kind of elemental modifier on your side. But anyway, guys, that's all there is to it. I really hope you like this boss build, because it's an actual boss build. It's not like some kind of weird movement speed thing where you do absolutely no damage. Like, you actually delete the boss with this. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys think that this is cool, or if you need help, or what kind of items you need, or where you can get them. I'm going to be streaming for the rest of the night. So I hope you like this. Shout out to all my Zane mains out there. I know it's been a little rough for you. He got a little bit of a buff, but not really good enough. And hopefully this helps you farm bosses a little bit better and a little bit smoother. And by the way, this is all done after the most recent hot fixes and patches where, like, Grave Warden now has more elemental resist and all that. And so it really works, people. And I don't think anybody else is doing this. So drop a like. Make sure you hit that notification button. Like, come hang out on the streams. I'm trying not to do what everybody else is doing, but sometimes things overlap. So that's all it is. Adam D, out.